Well, welcome. I'm Electra Porzel. I'm the director of the Language of Consciousness Institute. And I'm talking to you today about a, the conversation that I've just had with a group of women around one of Charles Einstein's proposals about a new story and an old story. And we do this every week. We got all these new stories and old stories from a blog that Charles Einstein wrote in January of this year, 2023. And we're doing it because it's really great for the mind to look at evidence on both sides of the story and wonder how we get to a greater implementation or living of the new story. So here's what the old story was. And you can hear it when you pay attention to it, how we've lived this old story. The great purpose and destiny of humanity is to bring order and intelligence to a world that has none of its own. When we were talking about that today, we thought, well, if you look at earlier populations who had plagues or natural disasters, they didn't know what caused them. And so they had to make up a story to give some order to their lives, to try and explain why the unfathomable happened. And it gave populations a way to have a sense of control over the earth. Things got out of hand when those populations grew to such a size that they decided that as a culture they knew better than, let's say, indigenous cultures, or they knew better how to handle land than nature itself did. At least that's what we're saying right now. I think that's true. So we have to say this didn't work. It got out of hand. We've done a lot of great research. We know what caused the Black Plague. We know we know some of what drives nature, but we still can't stop nature. We can't stop the tornadoes or the hurricanes. All we can do is try and save people and save lives in the best way that we know how. So the question is, do we want to continue living that way? And is there another way to start looking at how humanity can live into the future, into a sustainable future, into one where lives are good? So the news story is this: the purpose of humanity is to participate in the unfolding of life and beauty in the cosmos. My first thought is, who knows? Do we have any practices that we have right now that looks at the unfolding of life and beauty in the cosmos as an entire culture, or even in the Western culture? Probably not. But indigenous cultures do have rituals and practices that made them pay attention to the unfolding of life and beauty in the earth itself and actually in the cosmos as well. So we were wondering how does this become a practice of people who are steeped in cause and effect, steeped in separation, steeped in living separated from nature, because we built these big cities that depend on a lot of resources pouring into them. And that may not be sustainable. It may be a model of living that will not sustain itself. So we have to think in that capacity as well. But I want you to just entertain the thought. And one of the things we came up was, one of the gals said, the first thing you got to do is stop and listen. And we said, yeah, we have to pay attention on a in the moment basis of what is occurring around us. There is a teacher that I listened to recently, a man named Christian, and there's a YouTube on the Create a World YouTube channel, CreataWorld, where Christian talks that the world of unity, or the reality of unity, is here. We are already in a creation mode with creation, God, Goddess, right now. But what we're experiencing is oh, how is that different than when I thought I was aiming for living in a world of unity with creation versus, oh, I am creating something with creation. How is that different? And so in my case, I'm going like, whoa, everything. I have to say, well, that's interesting. Why did that occur? And what is that teaching me? And what am I looking for? But it's this focus on what is life and beauty in the cosmos and participating in it. So, how do I honor and respect the life and beauty of the earth and of the cosmos? And that's going to help us as a species create a better future. Now, that's my grandchildren's future. It's their children's and grandchildren's and generations beyond future. I feel a responsibility to start the thinking of it now, the being of it now, as differently as I can, so that their orientation is not the orientation that I was born with, but they see more possibility. They don't see the separation that I experienced and probably have as part of my being. And I invite you to think about that too. How do you do that? Now, in the templates of the language of consciousness, language of creation, we actually require people to only put in life enhancing, life generating phrases so that you have a specificity of beauty and in what you're writing or life generating. So instead of saying craving no pain, I'm saying craving my body moving with ease and grace. Creates what? Me jumping out of the bed with joy of movement in the morning. Me jumping out of bed, creating me jumping out of the bed and the joy of movement in the morning sustains and maintains a supple muscles that can lift my grandchild. Sustaining, maintaining supple muscles that can lift my grandchild embodies a joyful play with my grandchildren. I mean, I just said that's an example of life enhancing phrases that we use in those templates. There's other groups that also are looking at being differently, more in unity with the environment, in unity with nature, in unity with the etheric forces of the universe. Damanhur, as a spiritual eco community in Italy, is one of those. They're really making the effort to combine living a spiritually focused different world in a living nucleus, living together in housing, creating small communities, building relationships with nature, building relationships with the etheric forces, building relationships with the synchronic lines of the earth. So that's a group that's attempting something, first of all, in one location, but now they have people all over the world that are part of their community, building the energetic space of it, as well as where it's coming, how we come to the earth, how we come to life experiences in different locations. But and if you look, we were going through all these different groups that are trying in their own way to participate in the unfolding of life. There's the quantum bioengineering, which is led by a woman named Sandra out of the Sahara. And she really focuses on the power of the heart to help us connect our body, connect energetic forces, connect with the greater forces. And she's doing a lot of work on doing some work with Planetary Grid now and her people. It's an amazing practice that she has built, an amazing group of people working worldwide. There's, I was told there's a group called Mutual Awakening that's led by a woman named Patricia Albert, who created something called a we space, which sounds to me like a meta point space, where there are fields overact, and they get the experience of a calm nervous system and being one with a larger mind. There's all sorts of groups around creating a different way to die. So it's not just the hospice system, but it's in Nevada City, California, there's a group called Full Circle of Living and Dying. If there's in one small town, they're everywhere. And it's like the experiments that happened in the 80s and 90s, where they discovered that if there was meditation done by a small group in a particular metro area, let's say, that it impacted the amount of accidents they had, it impacted the number of people who went into the hospital. There were all sorts of different measures that it impacted. So what if you and I and all these small groups that we're part of continue to create a world where we are one with the other, that we are thinking of life generating, life enhancing, that we are focused on what is it like to co-create with God? What is it like to pay attention, to participate in the unfolding of life and beauty on Earth and in the cosmos? And that means that you're doing something to the Earth. You may be celebrating the equinoxes and the solstices. You may be doing an agricultural technique to bring fertility back to your land. You may do a gleaning project. There's all sorts of ways that we can pay attention, participate in the unfolding of life and beauty on Earth and in the cosmos. So let's do it. That's what the women in the group said. We have to go out now, and each of us continue the work that we do with the idea that we are creating a space for future generations to unfold into. My grandchildren don't come with the ideas about the Earth that I had when I was their age, because we came from a different age. Hopefully the discussions that I have and that you have will create a larger mind space and a larger being space for the people, our children and grandchildren and neighbors and friends to follow and be differently, so that humanity has a chance to create sustainable living practices with Mother Earth, that we will care for her like actually she's tried to care for us. That the end of the idea that humans have to be dominant over the Earth will end. And the idea that humans work with Earth, with nature, with the land, with animals, to create a life-sustaining environment for all of us. Anyway, I invite you to have this discussion with your friends. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to join in our next discussion, it's next Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And let me know, email me. And that's electra@loc-institute.com. And we will, I'll send you the message. I hope you get into thinking about this. Try being different. Look at the world differently and say, what would it be like if I chose every day to participate in the unfolding of life and beauty on this Earth and in the cosmos? Thank you very much.